Well, hello. Happy Friday, UFL fans. And you know what Friday means? It means we got football already. But first, we'll go back and talk about who the players of the week were for the week 4 of the UFL Special Teams. Wide receiver Matthew Sexton, San Antonio Browns against my DC Defenders, and boy, he tore them up. Yeah, he was big in their first win of the season. He had a punt return, 83 yards for a touchdown in the first quarter to give the San Antonio a 12-point lead in an early edge, and they never looked back. In fact, even though the time of possession favored DC, San Antonio had control of this whole game. He ended up having a 107-day of all-purpose yards altogether. So, good job by Matt Sexton. And a good job on the Brahmas winning their first game of the week. Defensive player of the week goes Gene Harris of the was Arlington Renegades. He, of course, had the game-deciding or game-clinching 102-yard pick six. 36 seconds remain. Looked like we were headed possibly to our first overtime game of the year. On a tip, I think he picks up Max Duggan, goes the other way for 102 yards, and it goes from going to a possible overtime to looked like an easy 30-15 win. It wasn't. This game was a lot closer than the score would indicate if you didn't see the game. He also had 8 tackles and 2 pass breakups. So good job for Gene Harris. Of course, the player of the week for the offense. Second week in a row, quarterback Bryce Perkins of the Michigan Panthers. And remember, he didn't even start last week. He was benched until Danny Etling got hurt, and he was put back in. Tell you what, not against Danny Etling. This is good for the league, though. Of course, he was 15-22 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. His best performance, numbers-wise, I guess, as a Panther. He also rushed for 45 yards. And now the Michigan Panthers are 3-1. You can make the argument they could be the best team in the league. And I'm telling you, quarterback Bryce Perkins makes a big difference over last year's E.J. Perry and Danny Etling. Of course, it seems like we're headed down the same path as last year with the USFL Conference, where you got the Roughnecks and the Showboats in the bottom battling out for that, and you got the Panthers and the Champion Stallions battling out for who's going to go to represent the USFL Conference. Speaking of the Stallions, they brought back quarterback Javar Smith. Because Javar Smith was a big part, I think, of their first USFL championship, or the second one, but he's back. And Brandon Silvers, remember him? He is now signed with the St. Louis Battlehawks, as unfortunately Manny Wilkins is gone for the season, looks like, with an Achilles tendon injury. Bad break for him, bad break for the league, bad break for the St. Louis Battlehawks. I said at the beginning of the year, with the championship game being back in St. Louis, they really needed the St. Louis Battlehawks to be in that game. And from what I see right now, and we're only in week 5, we're halfway through, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Anyway, let's talk about tonight's game. Let's talk about this weekend's game. The first game, the Fox Friday night game of the week, features a USFL conference matchup. The Memphis Showboats 0-4, who looked like they were a pretty good team under Wisenhunt. He's now gone. Going into Birmingham to play the Stallions. This is going to be a close game, I think. The Stallions are not impressing me right now. I know they're 3-1, and they're finding ways to win. But this is not the same team as we saw last year and the 2 previous years before that. I still think the Stallions will find a way to win because they are the champions. They know how to win. Memphis, boy, this would be a good time to get their first win. They need a win. for the purpose of them hopefully staying in Memphis and helping the league out. The league really needs Memphis to win this game. But I'm going with the Stallions, even though the Stallions don't impress me on the offensive side. Their defense is still awesome. And Case Cookers is starting this week, which I like. I like him better over Matt Corral anyway. I am taking the Stallions to win this one, 24-13. Now, for the Saturday night game. The Michigan Panthers go into the Battle Dome to face the St. Louis Battlehawks. And by the way, tickets are now on sale for the UFL Championship already at the Battle Dome. Michigan comes in at 3-1. St. Louis comes in at 22. Manny Wilkins is gone. I'm assuming Max Duncan is going to start. Brandon Silvers is going to be the number 2 guy. You can make the case that Michigan could be the best team in the league with Bryce Perkins. They're going to have to find a way to continue Bryce Perkins. If he could run, they're going to win this game. But I like Michigan to win this game anyway. Max Duncan is going to get his shot. But against that Michigan defense and that very, very subpar St. Louis offensive line, Jacob Sailors, I know you can make the case he's the best running back in the league, but that defense, they shut him down. It's good night. I think it's going to be good night anyway. I see the Michigan Panthers going to St. Louis and making St. Louis lose 3 straight. This is a different Michigan Panther team with Bryce Perkins, and he good for the Panthers, good for the league. I'm taking Michigan to win this one, 27-14. Now the Sunday doubleheader, the 12 noon game, the game of the week. 3-1 DC against 3-1 Arlington at Choctaw Stadium. Both teams can play defense. Both teams have really good quarterbacks. I would give the running advantage to the Arlington Renegades with Callum Ballard. Although with Jordan Tamu and Abram Smith, things can happen. I don't know. Both these teams have trouble in the red zone, although I think Arlington does a better job. I will be rooting hard for my beloved DC Defenders. This will be a good game. This will be a fun game to watch. But I am taking the Arlington Renegades to win this game. Until DC can improve that red zone offense, and they gotten away with it the first 3 weeks because of their defense. Last year when their defense couldn't really wasn't up to stopping the San Antonio offense. This will be a fun game though. I am going Renegades 19-16 over the DC Defenders. And finally, the last game of the week, 3 p.m. Sunday. It's week 5, but believe it or not, this is finally the opening game, home opener for the San Antonio Brahmas. They're hosting the Houston Roughnecks. Personally, I would have put the championship game back in San Antonio. That's just me because although the Battlehawks may have the best fans for the team, I think the overall most enthusiastic fans in the league could be San Antonio. Just my opinion. Houston had played the Stallions tough last week, and they've been playing since that disastrous opening week 1. And this is also going to be a good game. But I see the San Antonio Brahmas have improved each week in all phases of the game. Houston has done great on defense. They've done solid on special teams, but their offense is still a yawner. And I am going with the San Antonio Bombers to win their second game in a row. I am going to say, I'm going to say 2012, San Antonio wins this game. Now for the ratings of last week. The ratings do continue to gradually get better and better and better. Nothing to really brag about. But last week's game between what was it? Hit 1.4 million at its highest. That was the St. Louis Arlington Battlehawks games. But the Friday night game on Fox, the ratings have gotten a bit better across the board, little by little. So hey, as the play gets better in the league, the ratings seem to also get better across the board. And listen, that's what you want. I mean, I'm going to say it every time. They should have started in February. I would have started the week of between the championship game and the Super Bowl to keep football in everyone's mind fresh. But it is what it is. So there you have it. There is your Week 5 predictions. There are your players of the week. Your attendance, your ratings seem to be getting a little bit better, which is good because the attendance is not very impressive at all. Comments down below what your people like to know. For the love of football, we'll talk to you tomorrow.